I want to talk to you about what is next for your mind. The point of my address is to ask you a very simple question. Are you an intellectual? I'm asking this question because you need to know that having a doctorate does not make you an intellectual. Becoming a professor does not make you an intellectual. Working in a research lab does not make you an intellectual. Just like there are MDs who are not healers, just like there are reverends who are not about God. Do not become that person. No doctorate degree is required to join the Intellectual Academy. This is an inclusive academy with all types of people coming from all types of backgrounds. There are people with only a GED. There are incarcerated people. There are homeless people in this Intellectual Academy. There are poor people in this Intellectual Academy. So when I say intellectual, I'm not referring to someone who knows a wealth of information. All of you, I'm sure, know a lot. I do not measure a person's intellect based on how much a person knows. How much you know has no bearing on how much you are an intellectual. I define, and many others define, an intellectual as someone with a tremendous desire to know. Intellectuals have a tremendous capacity to change their minds on matters, to self-reflect, to self-critique. Intellectuals are only governed by one special interest, and that special interest is rarely self-serving. And that special interest is finding and revealing the truth. How many of you have a tremendous desire to know? How many of your minds are wide open to new ideas? How many of you are searching for ideas that challenge how you see the world? How many of you are willing to look differently at the world with the blink of new evidence? How many of you are critiquing your own ideas as intensely as you critique the ideas of others? Intellectuals are a nomadic people, constantly changing their conceptual location, constantly in search of a better conceptual space. You know, we have workout warriors of the body, those who pump iron to break down old muscles to allow newer and bigger and better muscles to grow in their place. Well, intellectuals are workout warriors of the mind, regularly breaking down old ideas to allow new ideas and bigger ideas and better ideas to grow in their place. Are you an intellectual?
He knocked my mom out the top of the stairs. I could see him coming down the stairs, just dragging her. And she was kind of lifeless. And that's when I got off the couch, scared to death, jumped on my father, and he beat the shit out of me. We never went to school hardly at all because we were bruised up. He also believed in just us working the family business. So going to school really didn't happen for me at all. Not only did he take a backseat, I also had a learning disability. I'll never forget in third grade, there was this teacher that was extremely rough on me. And at this time in my life, I did not need this. And she believed I needed to be in a special school because of my learning disability. And this is where I was talking about, people always talk about manage your expectations. This teacher managed my expectations. She saw I had a learning disability. She saw I was socially unable to survive in this world. She saw I was messed up. So she managed my expectations. She said, we need to put David Goggins in a special school. I came from hell. And when you come from hell not knowing how to fight, this is what happens to you. What happens to you is you become a fucked up kid that cannot survive in society. I'll never forget one time during a basketball game, there was this coach, Mr. Trout. He knew me when I was a kid in that school when I was in third grade getting set back. Mr. Trout always loved me. This white man loved the shit out of me. I don't know why he did. But he was my JV basketball coach my sophomore year. The visiting team was at our home stadium. It was at the end of the game, and the visiting team started chanting. I was the only black person in the whole daggone stadium. They started chanting, nigger, nigger, nigger. That's all I remember. At that time in my life, that's all I remember. But now at 42 years old, I can look back on that time with clear eyes and a clear mind and see what Mr. Trout did for me. He went in that locker room where I was crying and upset, and he cried with me. This white man cried with me, but at that time in my life, I didn't see that. All I saw was red. I saw hate. This whole town hated me. Everybody's against me. My mind lost it. And for some reason, I couldn't sleep on my bed. Until this day, I don't know why the floor felt so comfortable. And at 22, 21 years old, I went from 175 pounds to 297 pounds. Fat, out of shape, insecure. I was everything everybody said I was going to be. That's what I was. And it makes you feel like shit. So I got a job spraying for cockroaches at nighttime. Not saying it's a bad job, but I didn't want to do it. So for about 6 months, I went around to your local eatery spraying for cockroaches. This one night I came home, the first thing I do, I walk in my living room, turn the TV on. First thing I do, and then walk back to take a shower. And I would listen to the TV as I was trying to take a shower. This day changed my life. It held me accountable for what I wasn't facing in life. They're going through Navy SEAL training. And I sat down. I came out of the shower and I sat down. Something brought me back to sit down and watch these guys go through hell. I saw a ton of them quitting, ringing the bell. Ringing the bell means you quit Navy SEAL training. I saw them putting their helmet down. This went on through the whole show. And it finally got to the very end. There was about 15 to 20 guys at the very end. And this one statement changed my life. They were all sitting there in their dress whites. And this CO, this commanding officer, stands up in front of these men. And he looked sharp, and I could tell he stood for something. And he said, we live in a world where mediocrity is often rewarded. These men up here detest mediocrity. When you hear a statement like that, it forces you to think about yourself. I wasn't even fucking mediocre. I wasn't anything. I was at the bottom of the barrel of life. I chose the 4-lane highway for my life, the easy route, the route that has gas stations, the route that has fucking signs that say 20 miles to the next service stop, all this shit. I chose that route. Most of us choose the 4-lane highway. When I was born, there was also a shovel over here in the fucking corner. No one wants to go to the shovel. They want to choose the 4-lane fucking highway. That's the nice route. The shovel means you're gonna fucking hurt. The shovel means you're gonna suffer. The shovel means you're gonna hit rock a lot of time. And we all know what digging through rock is like. When you hit a fucking root, you gotta fucking get some more tools out. If I had no more tools, just a fucking shovel. I was choosing the 4-lane highway. This is when I decided to pick up that fucking shovel that we all decide not to take. I had to make a change in my life. So I said, you know what? I have to join the military. I went on a Navy SEAL training. Became the only person I believe in history to go through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks in 1 year. I completed 2 of them. Hell Week is 130 hours of continuous training. You might get 2 hours of sleep. The first few weeks get you ready for this hard 1 week of training. I had to become obsessed. No matter what was in front of me, I had to figure out a way to overcome it. So when things hit you in life that you're afraid of or you're not good at, the first thing you're going to say to yourself is, why am I here anyway? This isn't for me. The water's too cold. The sun's too hot. I'm getting up too early. Why am I doing this to myself? That's what the normal mind says. I had to start training my mind to think about, how the fuck can I get through this? Not giving myself a way out. Never giving myself, creating a wall around all the fucking ways out in my mind. I had to slowly start to build this fucking wall so my mind knew this motherfucker is not going to give himself a way out of here. In my first Hell Week, I had a huge setback. I was broken. My legs were broken. I had double pneumonia. I got rolled back to day one, week one of Navy SEAL training. I got through that second Hell Week. During the second Hell Week, I actually broke my knee. I continued to limp around for a couple weeks. I couldn't make it anymore. Got rolled back to day one, week one. I'll never forget standing there in front of Captain Bowen. He was the CEO in charge of Navy SEAL training at the time. And he had no mercy on anybody. If he believed in managing your expectations, I wouldn't be here today. He challenged me again. I was challenged my whole life, not by the mindset of managing expectations, by exceeding expectations, not by managing them. I'm standing there with crutches. I'm sitting in his office. He looks at me, he goes, Goggins, this is your last time. We're gonna put you through Navy SEAL training. This will be your third Hell Week in 1 year. We're not gonna put you through a fourth. So this is your last time. I'm sitting thinking, how am I gonna get through this? I'm badly jacked up. My legs are broken. My knee is messed up. And he goes, you have a couple of months to get better. A couple of months isn't gonna do it. I won't get healed up in a couple of months. But I realized I'm gonna get through this shit. I'm gonna find a way to get through it, because why? I put barriers in my mind. So my third Hell Week, I went in there with pretty much, I would put a black sock on first. I would get duct tape. And I duct taped my ankles all the way up to my calf every single morning. And then I put another black sock over it. And what that did, that prevented me from moving my ankle. So I didn't really, I wasn't flexing my shin as much. And I started running with just my hip flexors. In this Hell Week, it was a bad Hell Week. We had a guy die on Thursday morning of Hell Week. I went on to become a Navy SEAL. Greatness is not something that you meet once. It's something that you meet thousands of fucking times in your life. And you don't reach it if you're not constantly in constant fucking pursuit of fucking greatness. So if my mind were to say right now, I'm great, I just lost. We're gonna grow. We're not gonna triple down on our strengths. We're not gonna do that crap. We're gonna work on our weaknesses so we grow. We need friction to do that. Without friction, there's no growth. Without friction, there's confusion. Confusion is, David Goggins, how did you become who you are today? I put a bunch of fucking friction in my life, and I grew. That's how I did it. You know how you get mentally tough? It's a lifestyle. Instead of hitting that fucking snooze button in the fucking morning and not making your bed, not cleaning your house, you don't hit the snooze button. You get up. You don't want to go run, you go run. You don't want to go swim, you go swim. You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed. You don't want to clean your house, you clean your house. You don't want to study, you fucking study. That's how you start to callous your mind. So that became my life. If you say you're going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the fucking morning to go run, wake up at 4 o'clock it's going to suck. It's not going to be fun. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow. Embrace the suck.
Two of the most costly words in your life are I forgot. I forgot to do it. I forgot that conversation. I forgot to bring it. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot that meeting. I forgot that person's name. Every time you hear that, time is lost, money, opportunity, all of that, it just disappears. I believe there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's just a trained memory and an untrained memory. So I'm going to share with you right now the 10 secrets to a better memory. Number one is a good brain diet. You are what you eat. There's certain foods that are really good for your brain, good for your focus, good for your memory. There are things like avocado, things like brain berries or blueberries, things like broccoli, things like coconut oil, things like eggs, if that's allowed in your diet, green leafy vegetables. All these things are good for your diet. Salmon, sardines, wildly caught, very good for your brain. Walnuts, by the way, are very good for your brain also. And it's interesting, a walnut looks like a brain. There's certain foods that are really good for the organs it's supporting. It's like a signature, nature's signature, a sign of nature. Like you cut into a carrot, you look at it, it looks like an eye, right, which is good for your eyes. Number two, killing ants. Killing ants, actually, research says is good for your brain. You're like, Jim, I don't want to kill insects. I don't mean ants like that. I mean automatic negative thoughts. It was coined by Dr. Daniel Amen, who's a famous brain doctor. Kill those ants, automatic negative thoughts. Because here's the thing, your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. Number 3 key for unlocking your quick brain is exercise, right? And I mean physical exercise. People who are more physically active will do better on mental acuity, focus, and memory tests. And whatever's good for your heart is going to be good for your head. Number 4, brain nutrients. Because we might not get it all in our diet, so you want to supplement with, if you're not getting your B vitamins, your omega-3s, and so on. 5th key for unlocking your quick brain is a positive peer group, because who you spend time with is who you become. Jim Rohn has said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending time with, and why does it relate to your brain? Because it's not just your biological networks or your neurological networks, it's your social networks. Are you spending time with energy vampires? Are you spending time with people that encourage you, that challenge you, that take you to the next level, that educate you, that coach you? 6 is a clean environment. A clean environment is good for your brain. And you know this, you clean your laptop off or your desk, isn't your brain more focused? Isn't it more crystal clear? Good, clarity is power. Number 7 is sleep. That's where you consolidate short to long-term memory. That's where you clean out the plaque that leads to Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep is very important. Every single thing is common sense, but it's not common practice. Number 8 key for unlocking your quick brain is brain protection. Protect your brain. Many people know I've had a number of traumatic brain injuries and led to a lot of learning challenges that I have, but wear a helmet. It'll take care of your brain. It's resilient, but it's also fragile. Number 9, new learnings. You can create new connections, neuroplasticity to the day you die. What nourishes your brain are 2 things. Number 1 is novelty, number 2 is nutrition. It also was on the cover of Time magazine. They did this study on super nuns. They wanted to find out how these women were living 80, 90 and above. And they said their longevity, half of it had to do with their faith and gratitude, but the other half had to do, they were lifelong learners. They were always learning and added years to their life and life to their years. And finally, number 10, the 10th key for unlocking your quick brain, stress management. This is a huge one. When you're in fight or flight, stressed, you create cortisol, adrenaline. It's good for physical activity. It's not good if you need to study. It's not good if you need to take a test. It's not good if you need to give a presentation in front of a group of people. All of us have these gifts, and IQ doesn't measure it properly. IQ is fixed. IQ measures a very limited spectrum of what intelligence is. What about the person who is really great with people? They have great interpersonal intelligence, great with individuals. Or maybe the person has great visual spatial intelligence. Think about the artists, think about the graphic artists, the designers, the architects. That's equally important. And what about the person that's really great with their bodies? They have kinesthetic intelligence, the athletes and the dancers. So all of them are valuable, and they all can be elevated. It's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart.
This is how you improve your focus and increase productivity. I'm Tom Bilyeu for Goalcast. I co-founded and built the billion-dollar brand Quest Nutrition starting from scratch with no knowledge of the food industry and only about $10,000 in startup capital. We grew the company by 57,000% in our first 3 years alone, and Inc. magazine named us the 2nd fastest growing private company in America. How did I do it? By learning to be deadly efficient with my time and by staying focused long after the tasks became really boring. The truth is, by nature, I am really easily distracted and I'm absolutely horrific at time management. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder. My whole life, I've been the kind of person that bounced off the walls. I lack discipline and follow through, quite frankly. But what I learned is that focus is just like a muscle. If you train it, it gets stronger. The question is, how on earth do you train it? That's what I spent the last 20 years of my life as an entrepreneur perfecting. It's taken me several failed businesses and a couple of grand scale successes to prove out these methods, so grab something to take notes with. All right, here are the 8 training secrets that took me from scrounging in my couch cushions to find enough change to put gas in my car to generating real phenomenal wealth. Number 1, start with passion. Willpower isn't a finite resource, but motivation is. So when you feel like you don't have the willpower that you need, chances are what you're really lacking is motivation. So you're not pursuing something that means enough to you for you to be able to generate energy. You want to pursue things that give you more energy than they take. Now, I don't think anybody's born with a passion. I think that it's something that you build in your life. I don't think it's something that you find. You find something that you're interested in, but then you're going to fan the flames of that interest through engagement turn it into a fascination, and then through the process of gaining mastery, you turn that fascination into a real full-blown passion. But ultimately, what you're trying to do is build something in your life that's giving you more energy than it's taking away. That way, when it gets boring, when it gets hard, when you find your focus slipping, you're gonna have what you need to come back to that thing that you know you should be focusing on. Then you're going to push through. So knowing that it's not really about having the willpower to bring yourself back around to what you should be focused on, but rather making sure that the thing you're supposed to be focused around is exciting to you, then you're gonna be able to make it. Number 2, practice grit. And the way you're going to practice this is by learning to meditate. Now, meditation may not seem like the most logical way to practice grit, but in reality, meditating is really just about coming back to the breath. Every time your thoughts wander, you're going to bring it back to the breath, bring it back to the breath. And that practice of over and over recentering yourself, coming back, stopping thinking about this new distraction and just come back to the task at hand, which is your breath. And in doing that, and that's how you're gonna build that muscle. So not only are there other massive benefits to meditation, including clearing your mind, but it's also going to allow you to practice coming back to something over and over and over. Because ultimately, that's what focus is. What am I supposed to be thinking about? What am I supposed to be doing? And every time your mind wanders, because it is going to wander, but every time it wanders, you want to get good at bringing it back. All right, the second part of meditating, clearing your head, brings us to the next thing, which is number 3, cognitive optimization. And that's one of the other benefits of meditation is it's going to not only give you the chance to practice coming back to something over and over and over, but it's going to lower what I call your background radiation, your stress, your anxiety. It's going to go away as you meditate. And that's absolutely critical because if you're going to be efficient, you've got to be cognitively optimized. There are really 3 ways to do that. Number 1, get as much sleep as you need. However much that is, get it. I don't use an alarm. I built a $1 billion brand not using an alarm. So there are no excuses about how busy you are. I work a lot, but I'm telling you right now, I get sleep first. Number 2, hit the gym. I wish this weren't so because I am not a fan of the gym, but going to the gym forces you to stick to a routine, to go, to do hard things, and most importantly, studies show that it's the only way to fully cognitively optimize. You've got to get in and push your body. It's going to help regulate the way that you think. All right, the third thing on that is you've got to make sure that your diet is on point. Again, I wish that I could just eat a tub of licorice every day. I love junk food in ways you can't imagine, but it doesn't help you think clearly. And if you're going to get done the things you want to get done, if you're going to achieve your goals, if you really want to be able to focus, you've got to have your diet on point. You avoid cognitive fatigue, you avoid things like brain fog. It allows you to really be at your best and think clearly. Number 4, apply the newfound grit that you've been building through meditation and going to the gym to your work. Just like you force yourself to go to the gym when you don't want to, and you're forcing yourself to sit there and meditate and come back to the breath, even though I'm sure you want to do something else, that act of going and doing the thing that's leading you towards your goals rather than whatever random thing your mind throws up in front of you, that gives you the discipline to see something through, to have the ability to come back over and over. When you start applying that to your tasks, all of a sudden you're going to see that you start working through your to-do list and you start actually making real progress. All right, number 5, you're gonna have to change your identity. None of this stuff is gonna come easily. Sitting down, doing the work, what Michio Kaku calls butt power, actually sitting there and just getting through that task list isn't going to be easy, and a lot of times it's gonna be really boring. It is not gonna be fun. You're gonna wanna go do your version of play, whatever that is. But in those moments, your identity is going to save you because you're going to take the time to repeat to yourself what kind of person you are. And this narrative, this thing that you tell yourself about yourself, is going to determine what you achieve in life. I always say there are 2 things that really matter. Number 1, what you repeat to yourself about yourself. And number 2, what you repeat to other people. What do you say out loud? Because when you tell people what kind of person you are, what you're about, what you do, what you're trying to build, you create this need for congruence. As you're telling people that you're that way, as you're telling people how you think, that you're pushing yourself, that you're the kind of person that, fill in the blank, focuses, has a big mission, is working towards it, only does what leads you toward your goals, whatever it is that you're repeating to yourself and to others, you're going to create that need to be congruent with that. And that is hugely advantageous. Make sure that you're taking advantage of that. All right, number 6, you've got to hold yourself to a ridiculously high standard. The truth is, in life, there's only one path to success, and that is set the bar ridiculously high and then surpass all expectations. You don't want to play the part of achieving your goals. You don't want to pay lip service to it. You actually want to do it. And to do that, you've got to hold yourself accountable to progress. When you're holding yourself accountable to a high standard, when your identity is tied in, then all of a sudden, you're actually going to be looking for those metrics of real progress that you can identify, and you won't be afraid to adjust course if you're not actually making that progress. Because who you are and the way that you feel about yourself is tied up in all of that. Number 7, be deadly efficient with your time. The goal here is to be proactive, not reactive. Most people spend all of their time being reactive. They spend a lot of time checking their email, taking phone calls, taking meetings, rather than saying, this is my goal, this is my plan to reach that goal. Whenever I check my email, I feel a deep and pervading sense of shame, because when you're checking your email, you're being very reactive and you're saying somebody else outside of my business knows better how I should be spending my time than I do. So I highly encourage you guys to keep your email checking to an absolute minimum. I probably reply to less than 5 emails a week. And I do that because I have that list of important things. I know at all times what I should be working on. I don't need other people to tell me. So my advice to you is keep a list of the most important things you could be doing at any one time to reach your goals. I live and die by my important things list. Number 8, and this is one of the most important things that any of us can remember. 80% of business is knowing what not to do. Most people are drowning in opportunity. People think that the hard part is going to be to get some opportunity, for something to come along that they're able to take advantage of and really create some momentum off of. The reality is we're all standing in a room with 1,000 doors, and our job is to close 999 of them. The problem in your life isn't going to be a lack of opportunity. I actually think opportunities come along all the time. The problem is knowing which ones to pursue and which ones to say no to. And that's what feeds back into that important things list, which feeds back into your goals. You have to have crystal clarity on what your goal is and how you're going to achieve it. And that's how you're going to decide which one of those 1,000 doors you're actually going to step through. All right, guys, that's it. If you do those 8 things, you will be well on your way to mastering the game of focus and productivity. Again, my name is Tom Bilyeu, and you can follow me at Tom Bilyeu. You can follow me there across all socials, including YouTube. Let me know how I can help. And until next time, be legendary. Take care.
My friend Ed was driving way too fast. At the time, we didn't realize he may have had too much to drink. Ed lost control of the wheel of that car, and he crashed into a mound of sand, sending that car hurling into the air before tumbling back to earth. One of the first times that I came to, that's when one of my doctors said this. He said, Scott, in case you don't recall, you're in a bad car accident. You've broken your neck and have a very serious spinal cord injury that has left you paralyzed from your chest down. Diagnosed a quadriplegic. And it wasn't long thereafter I was being told I'd be confined to this chair for the rest of my life. 30 days into this experience, laying there, I started getting some movement back in both of my wrists. In the back of my mind, I started thinking to myself that no matter how difficult life would be going forward, that everything would be okay. When I first started pushing a wheelchair, that's when one of my doctors, though, pulled me over. And he goes, Scott, look, we know you're getting some movement back in your arms. Not uncommon, but I think now more than ever, you need to understand the seriousness of your spinal cord injury and come to realize that the movement that you're getting back in your arms is as good as it's going to get. I don't know if that is exactly what he said, but what I heard was, you might as well go ahead right now and give up hope. Give up hope in the idea you'll ever come out of this chair. You know what the problem was? I bought into his words. My vision darkened. And to make matters a little more difficult for my parents, they were 2,000 miles away, and I literally stopped taking their phone calls. 4 days later, Dad got me on the phone, and he demanded to know what was wrong. So I made an executive decision to tell him. And all he said was this: I was out there 2 weeks ago for your birthday. Your attitude was off the charts. Remember how I reached down, put my arms under your arms, and hoisted you into the upright position? Do you recall what that felt like? Of course I do. Will you do me a favor? Will you go back and recapture that mindset and re-own it again? In the meantime, don't be upset with me. I'm going to have words with that doctor. And then come the next morning, when I woke up, I could not believe my eyes. Standing at that doorway, looking back at me, was my dad, letting me know in a sense everything would be okay. And if I learned anything from Dad, that no matter how difficult life is for you, in that moment you can always change your way of thinking. And that's when I made the profound decision that I was willing to fail, but I was unwilling to quit, while knowing that nothing worth achieving ever comes too easy. But to succeed, that takes grit. But what is grit? Grit, my friends, is your passion to persevere. Grit is what keeps you off the sidelines and back in the game of life. Well, there's something I learned in my life so many years ago, and I know it to be the truth. Don't ever let someone else's beliefs paralyze you from achieving those things you believe in your mind that you just might be able to achieve. If you are looking to thrive, to beat the odds, and achieve extraordinary results in your own lives, don't give up too soon.